This is Lindsay with Texas Hill Country Winery.
We have a few messages from some friends who wanted to say hi.
Hey guys, Nate here, Bell Springs.
Hi, from Hawk Shadow.
Hi, from High Meadow Winery.
I'm Randy. I'm from Winery.
Hello, friends. We've missed you. This is Nicole with Becker Vineyards.
Hi, this is Dan and Sue Schultz from Vine. From Solero Estate Winery and Ranch in Texas Hill Country. Cheers from Farmhouse.
Hi everybody, I'm Jesse with Lost Cellars in Fredericksburg.
Hey, Stug. This is Boo. We're at Lewis Wines. Hey guys, it's Duncan from Los Pinos Ranch Vineyard.
Hey guys, this is Tommy Welford from Dukeman Family Winery.
Hi, this is Sheila from Dry Comel Creek Vineyards.
Hi, John here from Kerrville Winery.
Hi, I'm David Colkin of Pedernales Cellars.
I'm Julie Colkin of Pedernales Cellars.
Hey guys, it's Chris and Catherine from Wilczoch Vineyards.
Hi, we're Steve and Sally Baxter, Fiesta Winery.
This is Gina with Stonehouse Vineyard.
Hi, from Driftwood Estate Winery. I'm Laura Elliott.
And I'm her dad, Gary.
Hey guys, it's Daniel and Lauren here at Fall Creek Vineyards in Driftwood.
My name is Melissa, and I work at Blue Lotus Winery in Texas Neighbor.
Cheers!
Hey everyone, this is Lindsay with Texas Hill Country Winery.
We have a few messages from some friends who wanted to say hi.
Hey guys, Nate here, Bell Springs.
Hi, from Hawk Shadow.
Hi, from High Meadow Winery.
I'm Randy. I'm from Winery.
Hello, friends. We've missed you. This is Nicole with Becker Vineyards.
Hi, this is Dan and Sue Schultz from Vine. From Solero Estate Winery and Ranch in Texas Hill Country. Cheers from Farmhouse.
Hi everybody, I'm Jesse with Lost Cellars in Fredericksburg.
Hey, Stug. This is Boo. We're at Lewis Wines. Hey guys, it's Duncan from Los Pinos Ranch Vineyard.
Hey guys, this is Tommy Welford from Dukeman Family Winery.
Hi, this is Sheila from Dry Comel Creek Vineyards.
Hi, John here from Kerrville Winery.
Hi, I'm David Colkin of Pedernales Cellars.
I'm Julie Colkin of Pedernales Cellars.
Hey guys, it's Chris and Catherine from Wilczoch Vineyards.
Hi, we're Steve and Sally Baxter, Fiesta Winery.
This is Gina with Stonehouse Vineyard.
Hi, from Driftwood Estate Winery. I'm Laura Elliott.
And I'm her dad, Gary.
Hey guys, it's Daniel and Lauren here at Fall Creek Vineyards in Driftwood.
My name is Melissa, and I work at Blue Lotus Winery in Texas Neighbor.
Cheers!
Lindsay, we cannot hear you. You need to unmute yourself, please.
There we go. Hi, everybody. My name is Lindsay, and I work with Texas Hill Country Wineries, and I wanted to thank all of you for joining us this evening for Hill Country Happy Hour. Texas Hill Country Wineries has been hosting these live Facebook happy hours for over a month now, and they've been a great way for all of us to connect with each other during these times. Each week, we have a different group of THCW member wineries talking about a variety of topics, and we're absolutely going to keep doing these happy hours. Even once our wineries are able to reopen, we're going to continue doing these. They've been a lot of fun. This week, we have a group of fabulous female winemakers to kick off Mother's Day weekend. They're going to be sharing about their backgrounds, how they got into Texas wine, about their winery, and then, of course, what they're drinking tonight. Please feel free to ask any questions you have in the comments here on Facebook, and I'm going to relay all of the questions to everyone throughout the evening. And without further ado, I will announce tonight's panel. We've got Joanna with Pedernales Cellars, Hayley with Kerrville Hills Winery, Meghan with Stoneledge Vineyard and Winery, and then our moderators for tonight are Penny with VineCo and Bénédicte with Kuhlman Cellars. And I'll go ahead and let Penny and Bénédicte take it away.
Thank you, Lindsay. So maybe we should start with a little cheer. Yes?
Yeah.
All right. So tonight I chose Kuhlman Estate Rhyne. It's a 2019 vintage. So let's. I chose this wine for two reasons. First, I'll tell you a little bit later about my background. Rhyne is a variety that originated in the northern Côte du Rhône, which is very close to where I come from. I come from Provence, and Rhyne is vastly planted over there too. And so that was one of the reasons why we planted it on our estate. And second, in the French language, all our nouns are either masculine or feminine. And La Rhyne is a feminine variety. So in honor of all our female winemakers and of course mothers, we're going to cheers to that wine. So cheers, ladies.
Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers. Yes. So why don't we just go around and ask all of you, and then all of you what you're drinking, and then we'll come back to the backgrounds to break it up a little bit. What do you think? Penny, what are you drinking?
All right. So, I'm drinking 2014 Terre Rouge, which is from Wedding Oak. It is a Grenache Syrah Mourvedre with a little touch of Cinsault in it. It's a 14 vintage. Why was I drinking it? Just, you know, when you got a lot of wine around the house, you pop something, but I didn't have a nice story like you do, Benny. But this is a great little Northern Hill Country region in the estate vineyards of Wedding Oak Winery. So, Joanna.
Joanna, do
Yeah.
you want to tell us what you're drinking?
Sure. So I'm drinking our Over the Moon Rosé. This is the 2019 vintage. So it's a direct to press rosé. It's a blend of Cinsault and Mourvedre. Yeah, that's just being released now. So very excited about it. And can you guys hear me okay? I know it's a little bit windy outside where I'm at.
You can.
Okay, let me know if it gets to be too much. I'll move into it.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great.
Hayley, will you tell us what you're drinking?
So I am drinking a line of wine that my wife and I are starting, 10 Mile Productions. This is a Ready Vineyards Zinfandel. So it's still in barrel. So I went and got a barrel sample today, and I'm enjoying it actually. So.
Great. Megan.
Yes, I am drinking 2017 Red Pearl, which is a blend of Sangiovese and Tempranillo. It's a 50-50 blend, and I love it. Can you hear me okay? I'm also outside,
Awesome.
obviously.
All right, so let's, and yeah, we can hear you all both very well, and it's a beautiful view to look at. Let's talk a little bit about our background. So I'll start. I am originally from France. I was actually born, but I grew up in the south of France in Aix-Provence. I graduated from l'Université de Bourgogne, which is in Burgundy, with a winemaking degree in 1987. So this will be my 33rd harvest this year. After I graduated from college or university in France, I traveled to New Zealand. I did 1988 vintage there. Then I went also to England. I was actually in sales there. I learned about selling wine. But I landed in 1991 in California. And so that was how I came to United States and worked for a winery there called Ravenswood Winery for 10 years. This is also where I met my husband. And in 2002, after Ravenswood sold to a huge corporation called Constellation, I left Ravenswood, and my husband and I and our 2 young children at the time moved to Texas. So we landed in Texas, in Fredericksburg in 2002. I started a consulting business, wine consulting business, and a lab. I'm actually in the lab right now. In 2011, met with Chris and Jen Cobb. They asked me to join them in 2013 to found Kuhlman Cellars. We opened the door in October 2014. Kuhlman Cellars is a winery between Stonewall, Texas and High, Texas, or Johnson City. So we are actually on our 6th year. And so that's my background. So I'm now a full-time winemaker there. So we still do the analysis in the lab here. So I'll pass it on to you, Penny. Tell us, and I've known Penny since I moved to Texas, pretty much. Yes, so we've known each other a long time.
Pretty much.
Go ahead, Penny, tell us your background.
Okay, so my name is Penny, and I've worked for a lot of different wineries. I just, for many of you don't know, I just left Wedding Oak Winery recently, and I'm consulting on my own at the moment for a lot of different projects under my VineCo consulting group. But have been in this industry for 42 years. In Texas, I planted my first vineyard in Texas in Blanco County in 1978, and had wineries over the years. Out in West Texas, St. Lawrence Wineries, Hill Country Cellars in Cedar Park, worked for the Pierce's Disease Research Program here in Fredericksburg, and as an extension agent here in viticulture. My heart and my passion is the viticulture side of things, but as we all know, wines are born in the vineyard, and it's my passion to create the best grapes possible to bring into the cellar. So I joined Wedding Oak in 2012, built that facility out with them up there, and so I work with a lot of different growers throughout the region, from high top vineyards north of High to 24-acre vineyard up north in Gulf White area, to many different places. But I travel a lot. I'm in and out of vineyards, and I just work with growers and winemakers trying to develop the best Texas wines for our future.
Thank you, Penny.
Is that all everybody wants to hear about me? Thank you.
Joanna.
Yeah, so I have been at Pedernales the last 4 years, a little over 4 years, and I kind of got into wine through, I like to do this, I was a demo girl. I feel like you have to do this when you talk about it. Part-time for about 5 years, and I worked for a company that had a really great portfolio of small wineries and small producers, and I just developed a passion for wine doing that, and when I decided it was time for a career change, I looked for jobs in the Hill Country and ended up working at Pedernales in the Vineyard for a couple of years, which was a great way to start. I took classes at TTU and took some SOM classes as well, because I think it's important to kind of have a balance between winemaking, but also like some perspective as to what else is going on in other parts of the world and the country. And so I've kind of tried to keep a balance between both of those things, and basically just sort of worked my way up from the vineyard to the winemaking team at Pedernales. And so, yeah, it's been kind of a fast and furious ride. It's been great.
Congratulations, Joanna. Hayley.
Oh, hi. Well, obviously my name is Hayley Fowler. Sorry, what was that? Oh, so my name is Hayley, and
what is your background, and how did you come to?
Oh, so my background is that I grew up in the Texas Panhandle.
Can you hear her?
Yes. And I grew up in the Texas Panhandle and moved to Brownwood for about 10 plus years. I worked over at Brennan Vineyards. I was running the tasting room there and just really getting into wine and really, really loving it, and just was like, I think this is my passion, and I really was really enjoying wine. So I started taking Texas Tech classes, and before you know it, I was in the wine industry. And so I went from Brennan Vineyards over to working at Rancho Loma Vineyards, and then from there, John Rivenberg over at Kerrville Hills Winery, we got in touch with each other, and it's been history ever since. It's been a joy to work with John and be at Kerrville Hills Winery. It's just been a dream come true. I love the crew that we have, and now my wife Sarah Cox and I, with John's just guidance and just loving wine, we started 10 Mile Productions, our little project, and haven't looked back ever since. So it's been really exciting to be down here in the Hill Country, because I just moved to the Hill Country about a year ago. So it's been really cool to start getting into Hill Country wine.
Great. Megan.
Yes. So my name is Meghan Brasington, and I started kind of the same way Hayley did in the tasting room. So 2014, I started at another winery in the tasting room, worked up to tasting room manager, moved over to Wedding Oak for a while. So I've worked at two different other places. I really I believe that you should know the front of the house as well as the back. But my passion has always been into the wine industry, is making the wine. So it was fun to sell it and see the front of house, because you need to know how to sell it in order, to get it off the shelf. But I found Stoneledge, which is a short 10-minute drive from my house, which is amazing. Greg and Deborah Gisler, about a year ago. I'd been working there a year. I've done a little bit of bottling. I had no classical training. I'm looking into taking Texas Tech classes. I took a level 1 sommelier class, but I'm kind of the baby in the industry, I would call, out of this panel. No, the Gislers took me in. Stoneledge has been home for the last year. Kind of got thrown in right away with topping off barrels and then working in the lab and chemistries. And this year is the first year I'm actually able to get into the vineyard. So I've been doing that pretty much the last couple of months, but it's been a blast, an absolute blast. I guess I fell in love with wine from road trips with my husband. We lived in Louisiana. He was military. I was from Connecticut, so we would always drive from either Louisiana or Texas and drive back up to, Northeast. We would stop at every winery possible. So I just started drinking wine, loving it, and then loved the background of it. So that's about it.
I was going to jump
Awesome.
in quick.
Welcome. Both of you. Yeah.
I was going to jump in really quick and tell you guys what I was drinking. I didn't get a chance to tell y'all. I'm drinking the 2017 Ranger Haze from Becker in my farmhouse vineyards.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Very nice. Okay, so I thought maybe now we could talk a little more about our wines and how we came with, you know, each one of us with these wines, since we're winemakers, right? So the Roussanne, that 2019 Roussanne, we actually harvested those grapes last year in 2019, July 30th and August 4th. We actually had 2 harvest dates because our block of Roussanne, which is about an acre, is clearly divided almost halfway with different soil profiles. So we discovered in 2018 that we really need to check the maturity at different times. And fair enough, they're five days apart. So we harvested this in two days. We're very fortunate because it's probably the ideal condition for a winemaker. The grapes only had to travel 100 yards from the estate to the production facility. So within a couple hours, the grapes were whole class pressed and fermented in stainless steel tank. And we actually bottled this wine February 25th of this year, 2020. So it's only been 2 months, sorry, in the bottle. And it's just like Joanna was saying, this is a wine that just got released also. It's a beautiful wine. It has like aromatics, primary and secondary aroma of pear and honeysuckle. It has an alcohol of 14.5 with really good acidity. It's super fresh, super pleasant, beautiful to drink. I spent the day in the vineyard today, so I'm actually enjoying this tonight. So why don't we pass it on to Penny? I'm going to have a little sip while you tell us about your Terre Rouge.
Oh, wonderful. So the Terre Rouge is this particular vintage, the 14 vintage, is a little over 40% Syrah and 22% Grenache, 18% Mourvèdre with 12% Cinsault in it. So this is a relatively small vineyard that is the estate vineyard, and it's most of those we harvest in 2 different blocks. Of course, the Syrah comes out fairly early, and the Grenache with the Cinsault and the Mourvèdre kind of dragging up much later. Probably about a 3-week difference in harvest dates actually in that vineyard between the 2. So they were fermented in 2 separate lots and brought together later. This was a production of 192 cases. And it went through neutral French oak for about 18 months, and then into a bottle where it aged for about a year before we released it. So it's actually, I was surprised. It has dropped a little bit of color out of it, but it's really shocked me. I didn't think it was going to be as good as it was when I opened it. So it's always nice to get a surprise when you open your wines of yesteryear. I'm always interested in, I've got some wines, which Benny, you probably do too, that, you know, we made years ago. I think I've got some 88 vintage, 89 vintage wines from Midland County vineyards that I used to work with. So it's fun to see the aging process and how these wines do still hold up in Texas. So lots to learn still along the way.
Yeah, you're right. I wasn't from Texas, but I had opened a bottle last year of and then I made Ravenswood as my son was turning 21. I saved that bottle for, it was actually a double magnum. That was kind of fun to taste a 1998 Bigberry from Ravenswood, Sonoma Mountain. Beautiful one.
I can't believe.
So, yeah, to taste the wines you've made now. Yeah, guys, don't forget to do, or girls, sorry, don't forget to save some bottles you're making now and enjoy them in 20, 30 years. Yeah, Joanna, go ahead. Tell us about your rosé.
Sure. So I mean, this is I've had a couple of start to finish wines so far, but I'm still sort of new to as a winemaker at Pedernales. So I was excited about this rosé. I'm still excited about it. Like I said, it's mostly Cinsault and Mourvedre. Both lots were direct to press. I think our previous vintages of this wine have been a little more fruity and a little bit bigger. We picked up higher bricks, and so due in part to weather.
Which vineyard?
2019.
Which vineyard, Joanna?
So
which vineyard?
Farmhouse, Cinsault, and then Kuhlman Vineyards, Mourvedre. So, so some of it was pressed right here in the Hill Country, and some was pressed in the High Plains for us. So, you know, we picked it earlier. It's a little less ripe, which we like, and then also sort of to almost overcorrected. I feel like in a way where we went from like super fruity, ripe fruit to a little bit lower bricks, and also I did a lot of leaf stirring on the Cinsault in particular for probably about 2 or 3 months to try and sort of give it a little more mouthfeel and make it a little softer. I was thinking a little bit more Provence in style. So it's a little bit of a lighter body rosé for us than we've had in previous years. It's obviously a little bit lighter in color, which you guys might notice if you've had any of other rosés. But yeah, I'm super happy with it. I think it's a nice, really easy drinking rosé, and I'm excited. I think Texas makes great rosé. I think it's a great place to make rosé, as well as other wines, but I do love our rosé. So, yeah.
Is that the only rosé you make?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it's the first one I'd take credit for.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Hayley, just tell us about your red in barrel. So which vineyard it came from?
So this particular varietal came from Ready Vineyards, the Zinfandel. It's been in barrel for about 7 months. So it's kind of been my first project where, I got to do everything I wanted to do, and it was really fun to play around. It's kind of that first vintage where you might play a little bit too much with it, but it was really fun to do, and I'm really happy with how the numbers have turned out, and just enjoying it in the barrel and seeing how it moves from the beginning, from whenever I first got it, coming in about 22, 23 bricks, to press, and then going from there and just tasting every individual process, and it being kind of like it's been really fun to do, and I've been really excited about the way it tastes, and I'm going for something a little bit more, whenever I think of Zinfandel, I think of something a little bit more fruity on the nose, and I want it to be dry, but I don't want it to be like splinters in your mouth. So I'm kind of going for a really delicate balance with this Zinfandel. I want you to be able to drink it anytime. I mean, with any kind of food. I want it to be very versatile in that aspect. So yeah, I'm excited to where it's heading, and I can't wait to bottle it in the future.
Great. Thank you, Hayley. Looking forward to that too. Meghan.
Yes. So the Red Pearl, I started at Stoneledge last year. It's a 2017 vintage, so I was able to finish it and bottle it, but I also blended it. So this is a blend of, like I said, the Sangiovese and the Tempranillo. Sangiovese was from Phillips Vineyard. The Tempranillo was from Paca Vineyard. Very happy with all of the fruit that we've gotten from them. But this was done in 4 barrels. And as I was starting my wine career in the cellar room, I was able to kind of go through with barrel toppings and kind of the testing, see which ones I like the best. The Sangiovese was putting off these amazing flavors. It was in French barrels. By that point, it was about a year, would have been just about a year and some months in barrel. But it was giving off fig, nice warm flavors. And the Tempranillo was putting off espresso and coffee and deep dark chocolate. So those were my 4 favorite barrels. So I was able to convince the owner that I felt comfortable enough to blend them together and make it work. And he trusted me and it worked, thank goodness. But this one is for sure my favorite. 2019 vintage will be the vintage I played with. So I'm really excited to see, and as they're coming along, just like following Hayley again, just how she's saying, I mean, as it's coming to, you know, each chance to try it and taste it, and just how it's coming from fruit, bricks, tank, now in barrel. We're really excited for this year. This year we pulled some nice fruit from the High Plains. The vineyard that I work at, we're on our 4th leaf, which is amazing. So this is the first year we're really gonna produce some croppage. So we'll get something nice this year that we can do something estate-wise. So, yeah.
Oh, great. I'm looking forward to come visit you too and taste those wines and barrels. But you know, the one beauty about Texas is that you can put those 2 varieties together. Sangiovese, that is usually an Italian origin, and Tempranillo from Spain. This is something you could never do in Europe. That's a no. But here we can mix those varieties. Isn't that awesome? Yeah. So all right. So how about talking about which is our favorite food, or which food we think would go really well with the wines that we're pairing, that we're drinking, or which food pairing with this. So for us, Roussanne has been kind of a fun variety to pair with many different things. Our chefs have come up with incredible things. I was gonna have it with our almonds or some tapenade, but it goes really well with food, and the acidity goes really well with that. It's a very pleasant wine on its own, but it's also very enjoyable with food. How about Penny and the Terre Rouge? What would you suggest to pair it with?
Well, the Terre Rouge, had it last night with beef stroganoff, actually. And I'm surprised that, you know, the tannins are holding well, and the acidity in it enough to cut the creaminess in the beef stroganoff. And it paired actually pretty well with that. I think it's a wine good on its own, but the old GSM for Texas, right? And you know, there's the Grenache in itself is the difficult one out of the group, right? Syrah we can grow, Mourvèdre we can grow. It's just Grenache is a little bit more difficult to beast here in Texas, I think. I do have a few blocks of it that I grow, growers, but I think it's a little bit more difficult to pull off. And somebody asked me recently, I was tootling along somewhere and I got a call, and I said, well, can you think of another G variety we can put in there besides the Grenache? You know, and it's just like, well, or even, you know, so we're trying to come up with our own blends. You know, we always look towards all those historical combinations, right? But as Meghan said, she's combining some unusual things, which we have the beauty of doing here. We're not so doing same old traditional themes. So I think it's important to taste along the way, and you know, fill all the gaps when you're trying to pull the wine together. If it's not to naturally, is to pull it through blending together, so you have a good mouthfeel and a good mid palate and a good finish on a wine. So it's a building process, and some years you get really lucky and the wine comes together all naturally with all of those components in it. And for that, I'm blessed to have had some of those vintages for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Joanna.
We actually had a question. Sorry. We actually had a question from the Facebook feed. Carl Hudson, why we have the heat, so why is Grenache so difficult in Texas?
So we have the heat. It just is a very finicky set with fruit load. I was out in my old Mearsall block. It's about a 20-year-old vineyard up in Lampasas County, and it's that Grenache block typically has some shatter issues. It also has a lot of magnesium deficiency in Texas. Have seen that repeatedly over many areas actually throughout the Hill Country, from the Northern Hill Country up near Mason to others. But it's just a little bit more challenging, so that's how we perform nicely and perform nicely. Like Mourvedre is one of those grapes that just, you don't have to tinker with it a lot, but Grenache, you have to get in there and actually do a lot more thinning of shoots or evening of crop itself, like we have in now, plus beyond that at BB size. So it's a lot more can try to evening out from the crop every year. Hopefully that answers the question. I know
producer, so
is
really got to be
one
careful.
of those grapes that I love in the summer. Next. I was just going to add that Grenache in the cellar to me is worth the challenge.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting. So I mean, I don't know if I know that Grenache is difficult per se. I definitely agree it takes more work in the vineyard for thinning, but I guess you got to think about what do you want that Grenache to be. If you're expecting it to be like Rhone style, yeah, you're gonna have a hard time getting like that color and earth out of it, maybe in Texas. But I think Grenache does pretty well here. I really love it in our estate, and I like it elsewhere in Texas as well. So I mean, it is my favorite grape. Like if there was only one grape I could have, it would be Grenache. I think it's really fruity. It can be earthy. You can make rosé out of it. You can make red out of it. It's going to be a lighter bodied red as far as color goes, especially, but I think it can be a nice wine, just sort of managing expectations around what you can get in this region. So just sort of to piggyback off of that, I think Grenache can do well here. It just, yeah, what do you want it to be and what can it be? You got to think about that. So.
Absolutely.
But are we still talking about pairings?
Great. So Anna, do you want to tell us what food you? Yes. Yeah. We can go back to the pairing. Yeah. This was our original trail.
Yeah. So
what would you eat with? What are you gonna eat tonight with this rosé?
Oh man. So I've got like Pringles at home and some summer squash. I like rosé because I feel like it's if you get the body right on it, it pairs well with a variety of things, or it's a great happy hour wine. I just got a text from one of my cellar hands who thinks it pairs well with pickled Pringles, and I don't even disagree. I think that's true. But it does nice with like fish and salads. I love a spring salad with rosé. It's like a pea and kind of arugula mint salad, I think is awesome. Always makes me want rosé. But they're super food friendly wines. I mean, as long as you're not trying to pair it with a steak, I think you're in pretty good shape. So.
Yep. Mediterranean food.
Yeah.
Provence
Absolutely.
food.
Yeah.
Hayley, there is also, yeah, so tell us your pairing, but there's also a question for you. I don't know if you saw it on the group chat.
I
Maybe
did,
Lindsay
yeah.
can, so
Mhm.
you could either answer the question or talk about it. Yeah.
Well, I can
Maybe
do
you can
both.
read the questions for everybody.
Oh, okay. Well, I would say for food pairing for this one tonight, I'm gonna do jalapeno poppers because that's what I've got in my fridge. And it sounds really delicious. You can't go wrong with a popper. As far as I'm actually having trouble finding the question, but I believe it was from David Goodspeed on if I made wine with Todd Webster over at Brennan Vineyards. Is that correct?
In Comanche, yeah.
Okay, yes, over in Comanche, and the answer would be yes. I helped Todd over there a summer with harvest, and they've got a bottling line over there now, and so I kind of took a liking to it, and he kind of just egged me on, and I went after it, and so I've done a lot of things over there with Todd Webster, and he taught me a lot. So.
Is it my turn? Is it my turn?
Can
Okay.
you satisfy the questioner?
Okay. So for
Yes,
mine,
Megan, it's your turn now.
me. Okay. For the so for this wine, it being a Sangiovese Tempranillo, it's surprisingly very velvety. It's very soft. It's low in acid. So, I mean, I would go chocolate with this because I love chocolate and that's where I would head with it. But if I were doing a meal, I would say a big steak or something like that. I mean, it can hold up, but it's more velvety than you'd give it credit for. So. Anyway.
I think also, I just wanted to say, we were talking about non-traditional blends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm curious.
Yeah. Jump in here.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, I was just gonna say, I think non-traditional blends in Texas are awesome. And it was one of the things that stood out for me early on when I would visit Kuhlman, actually, that there was no necessarily like sticking to like, well, these French grapes have to go together, or these have to go together. And I really admired that about the winemaking at Kuhlman, and that has been something that has stuck with me. And I think that's awesome. I think it's good to be able to branch out and not be scared to do something a little bit different that's non-traditional. So I think that's really great, and I would love to try that wine, Megan. Bring some over.
Well, it comes in. Place for a while, so I feel like after this kind of calms down, we all need to do a bus trip.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah, we've earned it.
Yes, definitely.
We got another question.
Okay, so I'm looking at the question. Do you have, oh, well, let's look at this one of the favorite variety to work with and why. Okay, well, let's answer that. That's a pretty wide question. There's a lot of varieties that I love to work with. Maybe that Roussanne is, that I was presenting, because even though it's a pretty wild variety in the vineyard, I know because I was working on it. It likes, it's like a pretty strong a variety in the vineyard, but once you put it in the winemaking, it just develops some beautiful aromatic, very, very delicate aromatic, number one. And number two, it's a variety that also can age, even though, we we ferment them in stainless steel, and I always kind of wonder how long these varieties are going to do, and being able to go back to, 6 or 7 year old vintages of this and realizing that it has enough of that structure and those tannin that they, it ages beautifully, just marvelous. So I liked, but there are many varietals that I enjoy. I wouldn't say there is a varietal that I don't like to work with. They're all, I like to call them my children. They all have their own character and they develop differently. They're all a lot of fun. You put them in the fermenter and they're like, wow, it's amazing. Sometimes they give me white hair. I have a couple. So it's like, oh, this one gave me white hair this year, but then always come around. So it's always a challenge. And I think that's what is so much fun about our profession, is that it's never the same. There's no recipe. You've got to adapt a little bit like a mother, with your different kids, your different children. So that's how I feel about the varietals and the wines that we make. So that's mine. How about you, Penny? What do you think? Do you have a favorite varietal you like to work with?
Well, I'll tell you, it's a question I often get asked in, teaching classes, and the way people always ask me what varieties do you think work best in Texas, given working with, for 40 something years here. And, my conclusion at this time, having worked through, in the early years, we were growing Ruby Cabernet and Chenin Blanc and French Colombard and things like that, right? This was after the French American hybrids. So we've evolved into a lot of different things. And of course, different wineries get kind of stuck in the Italian thing or the French wines or whatever. But, my bottom line today is I feel like the Italians in particular require far less inputs in the cellar and the vineyard in terms of work, economical, and, hang with us for a long time. What is Texas going to be known for in the future? It's going to be those wines that we don't have to add a lot of inputs to, right? If it requires a lot of handwork, if it requires a lot of extra spray program manipulations, that sort of thing, if it requires a lot of work in the cellar, those things are going to kind of be pushed aside. In the wines, then the grapes that do better without the intervention, without all the work, are going to be the things that last the longest. And for me, those are varieties like Montepulciano, Dolcetto, certainly Aglianico. Super happy with some Aglianico we're working with up at High Top Vineyard. And Negro Amaro is another one that I really, really like. Wow. And it's a low producer, but the quality of the wines that are coming out of that grape are just phenomenal. So anyway, I'm betting my marbles on Italian reds right now.
Thank you, Penny. That was a great insight. So Penny was with Wedding Oak, but can you remind somebody sent a questioner to remind? So before we speak, we are to remind them who we're with, which winery. So can you tell very briefly?
Well, why don't you start?
Well, I'm with Kuhlman Cellars. Yes, I already talked. So Penny, before all of us, before we start speaking, I want to remind everybody, hey, I'm with Pedernales or Kerrville or Stoneledge.
Okay. So I was with Wedding Oak. Most recently, I'm with VineCo, which is a consulting company for vineyards and wineries.
All right, Joanna, which is your favorite varietal to work with, if you have one? And
yeah, that's a good question. There are a lot of grapes I don't really like working with as much. I think I've determined in the last couple of years that's partially due to inexperience with those grapes. Some, as Penny have said, are harder to work with and they require more in the vineyard. They require more babysitting in the cellar. And so there are still some that I'm just sort of coming to terms with. It's not that they aren't good varietals for Texas, it's that I'm still figuring out what to do with them, I guess, to make them be better. But I do love Grenache in Texas. I mean, Tempranillo, obviously it's what Pedernales is known for, and I'm with Pedernales Cellars. It's a very forgiving grape for us. It's super friendly as far as blending goes. The acid isn't great when it comes in, like, let's be honest, but it's workable. And it does well with a lot of age. It does well if you don't age it for very long. It's a pretty easy grape to work with. So it's a good one. I like it. I also like for whites, Vermentino. Holds its acid pretty well. You can do a lot with it. It's fun barrel aged, some leaf stirring. It's nice, fresh and crisp and clean with all stainless steel aging. So yeah, I think those are some of my tops. And again, like the other ones that I'm not sure about, it's really, I'm still working on them, figuring out like what the barrel program should be and the fermentation program should be. And there's hope for all of them. I think that's sort of what's fun about Texas.
Yeah.
Thank you, Joanna. Hayley, just remind where you're from before you start, and then tell us your favorite variety to work with.
Okay.
And why.
I'm from Kerrville Hills Winery. And I'm kind of with Joanna and a lot of people, like they're your babies. You don't want to like choose, which one you want. But this year was the first year I got to work with a grape out of Nara Vineyards called Troldigo. It took me like 2 weeks to figure out how to pronounce it. I kept pronouncing it wrong, and it was just the first time I'd ever dealt with it. But I really enjoyed the way it came out. It was very forgiving. The pH was great. We did a really long tank ferment on it, and I really enjoyed that particular grape. Now, obviously, I'm still new, to the industry, so I'll still get to work with more grapes in the future as far as what's going to become my favorite. I mean, it's a guess, but I will say probably my second favorite out of this year, and people talk about forgiveness in the cellar, has been Tannat. Working with Rivenberg and obviously kind of his connection with Tannat, it kind of like I saw how just great it goes in the cellar. So that's a second favorite. And then as far as white, this year I got to work with kind of one of the firsts in Texas. It was a Claret Blanc out of Ab Astris, and it was just phenomenal grape. It was very like clear and just it worked really well. So those are some of my favorites, tops, I guess.
Thank you. Megan, remind us where you're from.
So yes, so Stoneledge Winery. Last year was really my first year. All of 2019 I got to bring in, which was very exciting. I will say the one I didn't like the most was probably the Cabernet. Phenomenal fruit, amazing. But the clusters were so tiny and so tight that the punch downs, I looked like Popeye afterwards. I mean, it was pretty intense. But by far, amazing fruit. The one I liked working with is Montepulciano. We got that in, but it was kind of one of those aha moments because my boss was out of town when they're ready to pick, right? So out of the high plains, there was a big storm coming in and he wasn't back until Tuesday. So I got the call over the weekend, Sunday, 8 tons heading your way. And I thought, okay, great. So now I've got to figure out if I can remember the Bobcat, getting the press up and running, making sure everything was on my lonesome. Luckily, it was the 4th varietal we brought in, so I had a little experience with it, but it was amazing. I mean, 8 tons, when he got back, it was all in totes already and punched down and ready to go and already inoculated, so it was fun.
Awesome.
Maybe
what a great story.
Yeah. I'll need more experience, but so far that would probably be my favorite.
Well, thank you.
Great.
We did have another question from Facebook from Moni Young. Which vintages from your winery do you think will be the best for 2020? It is early, but has weather been favorable? Bénédicte, do you want to start us off?
I'm not sure I understand the question. Which vintages are we talking? Which varieties from your winery do you think will be the best for 2020? Vintage, I'm not sure I understand. What do you think?
In the vineyard?
In the
Is it
vineyard.
the vineyard or coming out of the cellar?
Let's say coming out of the cellar.
Which wine, which varietal?
I'll verify.
We're trying to project. Okay. No idea. You don't know what your vintage is going to until the day the grapes come in the cellar. We're depending too much on Mother Nature. You guys agree, or?
Yeah.
What do you think, ladies?
Definitely.
I mean, I would say definitely.
There are so many. This is Texas. It's so unpredictable. We could have a hailstorm tomorrow that's going to devastate the entire High Plains, or for that matter, any of our vineyards, our estate vineyards. This could happen tomorrow. So the day the grapes enter the winery is when we all take a big, it's here, and we're not worried anymore. So sorry, I don't have a crystal ball. Ask Mother Nature, and she's a woman, another female.
That's very true.
I will say a couple of weeks ago, we had a huge storm come through at our property, and I was nervous because everything was just starting to flower, and there was a lot of damage to some of what I thought was going to be some amazing shoots. But luckily we recovered. But again, I'm still holding my breath. This is our fourth leaf. The Tempranillo grapes are coming along really, really good, but it's still, it's nerve wracking until it actually gets picked and it's in your bin. I'm holding my breath.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely some stuff I'm excited to see this year. We've started working with some growers that are still a little bit newer, and so the vines are still young, but the fruit's been really beautiful up to this point. And as long as the freeze damage in the High Plains isn't as bad as we think it might be, I'm excited to get some more Vedra and Grenache from a grower up in Seminole that's had some really beautiful fruit. So I'm super hopeful that in this vintage, that stuff will just continue as it matures on the vine, will look even better and better. So again, I mean, I've talked about Grenache quite a bit. I love Grenache, so I'm super excited about that, and hopefully it'll turn out all right. So, but we'll see.
It's usually, I would say that it's usually a little bit later before I feel confident saying, hey, it's really ready in the vineyards, and it's usually before it get in, because simply the weather creates poor set or whatever. So I think probably be a bit more confident with those decisions would be my guess.
I've got to say, I'm really excited about all the hill country fruit that's coming in this year. It's going to be an exciting harvest and new things to deal with. And like Bénédicte says, there's no crystal ball by any means on where it's going to go, but I'm really excited about this future harvest for sure.
Do you ladies have any tips for any advice or tips for any up and coming Texas winemakers?
Expect the unexpected. There's a lot of
to have the passion.
Yeah, I would say I am for sure out of this panel the baby of the group, and I mean in awe of everybody here. Amazing with all the wines. In the tasting room, I always said that everybody, this industry is so friendly. I mean, you don't meet another winery that you bash. I mean, everybody's nice. But I didn't realize when I got onto the winemaking side how friendly everybody can be. And everybody that I've met has always said, just pick my brain. If you have a question, just ask. So I think this is a very open network, and I think a tight-knit group. So if you are, you have questions or you're concerned with anything, reach out to somebody, because there's always somebody with more experience that has used that fruit before or has done that before that you can kind of get some guidance from. That's what I would say.
Absolutely. I would say for any future winemakers, just start. Like, that's kind of how I did it. I just getting there is the hardest part, but once you start working, I mean, you're going to learn so much on the job. You're going to make mistakes, and that's okay, because most everything you can fix if you're super vigilant in the cellar. You can do it for sure. And also, we need more female winemakers, I would say. So all the ladies out there.
Cheers. Cheers to that.
Yeah, cheers.
Bring them on.
I'll cheers to that. My glass.
Well, I really appreciate all of you ladies joining us tonight. We've hit 7 o'clock. But I just wanted to thank all of you, and it's just been an amazing group of women. We're just really grateful for each of you, and we're thankful for everybody who joined us tonight and watched on Facebook Live. We really appreciate everybody's support. We hope that everybody will join us again next week. We're going to be hosting the presidents from the Texas Hill Country Winery Association, the High Plains Wine Growers, and the Texas Wine and Grape Growers Association. Same time, same place next week. But in the meantime, don't forget to visit the CW website and social pages for more info on how you can support our wineries. We've got curbside delivery, shipping and wine deals, virtual events, and lots more. So we hope that you'll join us, and cheers.
Cheers.
Yes.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good harvest.
Yeah, good luck.
Bye.